had an incredible career in the NFL, had a journey in entrepreneurship. Where did the transition into games come from?
I enjoy building teams and I like having success with these teams, and I always like sort of doing new challenging things.
What is that particular gap that you're looking to fill?
I love strategy games. I just always have. So when FanDuel and DraftKings started fantasy football leagues, so I was like, if I can put these two things together, this is fantastic.
The studio is completely self-funded. Want to tap into that a little bit?
Game development is expensive. We're building sort of three things. We're building a company, then we're building a game, and then on the back end, we're building a processing system.
What culture you built from the outset?
Like I said, I'm in an industry that I don't have all the answers. I lean on my team for a lot of those. So they've got to be in a space where they can feel okay making a mistake. And trust me, we've made a bunch of mistakes in doing this thing.
If you're creating an environment where nobody is scared, they're going to continuously look to try new things. How do you want this studio to be remembered in the gaming space?
That we took a shot that everybody else was scared to do, right? That we were somewhat courageous, that we were risk takers, and that we, I guess that we got lucky.
Morgan, welcome to the Pixel Perspective. Pleasure to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
How's it going?
So far so good this morning. I've been looking forward to doing this.
Same here. Since the first conversation that we had, I was super intrigued by your background. And to give everyone a little bit of a context, Morgan and I met over at GDC, and a bit of background on himself. Feel free to chime in and correct where needed or add on to. So Morgan is a former NFL player, which was the intriguing part for me, from NFL into games. Incredible career in entrepreneurship across healthcare, but a passion for strategy games has essentially been there for over a decade. He's now the founder and CEO of Marauder Tech, launched in 2023, a mobile studio, currently based out of Florida. And since then, it's grown to 30 developers, fully remote, internationally, with seasoned vets from AAA and mobile backgrounds, fully self-funded, which is absolutely incredible in today's market, and working on your first title, Price of Glory, which is a turn-based strategy set in medieval fantasy. A very interesting monetization model, which essentially gives players the opportunity to win cash prizes through user versus user matchups and multi-user tournaments. And we're currently in an open alpha phase with an official launch on iOS, Android in the coming months, in the coming year. So
yeah. I think you nailed that pretty good. I guess the only couple corrections, I guess Marauder Tech was founded probably back in like 2014, which is when I first tried to do this, but I didn't have the money. The tech wasn't there, sort of a failed attempt, but it just goes to show that this idea has been in my head for over a decade. So I just, it's been taking up too much real estate. So I had to do something with it. So that's why we're here speaking today, because some of the members that I had at that time, we met up sort of just randomly, and I just told them, hey, I'm thinking about, sort of kicking this thing off again. And all of them had a little bit of time and a little bit of, sort of desire to do it. And then it just kept on snowballing. And now here we are with over, I guess we're close to 40 employees at this point. So yeah, we're well on our way.
And that's pretty incredible. So the idea was in your mind from 10 odd years ago, even further. And in terms of an introduction, to get a little bit more background to yourself. So you had an incredible career in the NFL, had a journey in entrepreneurship. So where did the transition into games come from?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say an incredible career in the NFL, but I had a go at it. So I'm originally from Canada, and again, most people know Canada for hockey players. I just couldn't skate all that well, so that wasn't in my career path. I've always sort of been an entrepreneur. My sister always reminds me of this, that, even when I was young, I just sort of had a bunch of really I don't know, most of the time stupid business ideas and stuff, but it was just always fascinated me. I just happened to be really good at football at that time, and it was my passion, right? From a young age, I wanted to go play in the NFL, and that's what I thought I wanted to do. Um, Bounced around a bunch of teams or whatever, 3, 4, I guess 4.5 years or so, trying to make a go at it, getting through injuries, things like that. And then sort of fell into what I really should have been doing the entire time, which was, starting and creating businesses. It's my passion. I enjoy building teams, and I like having success with these teams, and letting, sort of, all these employees or whatever sort of shine in what they do best. And I always like sort of doing new challenging things, and mobile games is brand new to me, so I'm learning as we go. So 2 years into it, still learning, but having a great time doing it. I think the team that we've assembled is fantastic. um a lot of the a lot of the lessons or whatever that I've learned through football, though, like that sort of competitive nature, never giving up, all of those things or whatever, it's just really translated fairly easily into entrepreneurship. And it just doesn't matter what industry that I'm in; those sort of key components stay true.
And I was there's key skills that are transferable in leadership, and you touched upon it. It's the resilience, not giving up, and this comes in gaming with a lot of studios that are going through that startup phase. What do you think has brought this success so far to scaling it to close to 40 people? And what are those key principles that you've stuck to throughout that time and transferred them across to Marauder Tech?
Yeah, like I can't necessarily say that we are a success just yet. And again, I understand everybody in gaming gauges success differently. A lot of startups or what are just getting a game out there and getting it launched or getting it on, iOS or Android is a success for them because they need to, sort of put together a resume. That's not our goal with this. Like this has always been a business model for me. But the game and the tactics and the strategy or whatever is really sort of what I'm building this for. Like the game isn't going to be for everybody, but people that enjoy strategy games are really going to enjoy it. So we're going to focus on those sort of core player types that are really going to enjoy this type of game. So the things that translate over, again, like you brought up, like that resilience is there, but just having a previous experience or whatever in business, and knowing that again this thing eventually needs to make money. So the success or whatever, as far as us getting up to 40 people or whatever, is just up until this point been a bankroll, right? But the idea and how we've come along to sort of fulfill that idea, I think is really strong. And the feedback that we've gotten from regular players, professional players, sort of uh creators has been really, really positive. So I think that we're on the right track. And the biggest sort of, I guess, light bulb or eureka idea or whatever that occurred to me was while we were at GDC, that like I always thought in other industries that I've been in, creativity hasn't necessarily been an option. Like in healthcare, it's the most regulated or second most regulated industry in the US after nuclear, right? So every idea, everything, you've got to go through attorneys and you got to go through a bunch of things, and there's not a whole lot of room for new ideas. So I always thought that gaming would have like this sort of creative passion, just because of so many of these games that come out. You're really impressed with like the artwork, the game design, the game loops, all those things. But it's more so on console, whereas in mobile, it's more of like a mathematical equation for people, because it's how much are we going to spend on marketing to keep people for a certain amount of time, and then what is that lifetime value of that player. And so it's just like, let's take something that's already been done, let's sort of reskin it, put it back out there, and because there's no risk, there's less risk in that. So you take an IP that people understand, you're pretty sure that if you get a decent game loop together with that people will enjoy that. With what we're doing, it's pretty new. Nobody else has done it, which is why like this sort of idea has been in my head for the last 10 plus years or whatever. So it's exciting to me to see if we can bring this idea to fruition. And then going through GDC, talking to a bunch of people about this, whether it be potential investing partners or influencers, just other sort of business partners that we need to complete this thing. um Everybody sort of echoed that same thought that like mobile especially, there's sort of like a lack of creativity because there's so much risk involved in it that nobody really wants to take that jump. So me being, I guess, naive enough, ignorant enough, or whatever, decided to take this leap, and we'll see what happens. But I'm still really positive on the idea and where we're going. So I can't wait to get it out there and sort of see what the public thinks.
Yeah, you mentioned a few things that resonated with me. Having spent 8.5 years doing tech recruitment in my early days of recruitment, essentially. So it was very transactional. There was not much creativity and passion. People are passionate in tech, don't get me wrong, but from a recruitment aspect, when I transitioned over to gaming and seeing the creativity that goes into this, the passion goes into it, there was absolutely no going back. And I've been in love with it ever since, and I can't see myself ever leaving the gaming industry. I'm stuck to it. I'm fully immersed in it. I want to dig a little bit deeper into the gap, what you see within the mobile market, and how you guys at the studio are looking to fill that. Because it's something that, from your mind, for years you've analyzed it and see a gap there. It's not been done before, and you're going full steam ahead with it. Hopefully, it will be successful. What is that particular gap that you're looking to fill?
Yeah, so I've always been I love strategy games. I just always have, like, just sort of that really take your time, thoughtful, outthink your opponent type of game. And I just haven't really found a whole lot of games, especially in mobile or whatever, that fulfill that itch or whatever that I had. So I guess like a couple things happened. I guess 10 or so years ago, I guess this is really what put the idea in my mind, was some of the laws changed here in the US when it concerned to, I don't even want it like a fantasy football, like, so fantasy sports, right? So it's considered here a game of skill, and most countries or whatever have the same sort of belief that a game of skill or whatever is separate from gambling, right? So that's the first distinction here. So with a game of skill, you can then enter competitions and you can have winners. If you are more skillful than the other player, then you end up winning. So when FanDuel and DraftKings started fantasy football leagues and they had that on mobile, I was like, this is perfect, because this idea that I've had in my head for this game, and then you add this extra layer of excitement, or like sort of just like this other emotional level that you've got something on the line, like you've put an entry fee into it, let's say it's $1, $2, whatever, it doesn't matter what the price is. And then you've got the ability with each move that it could determine whether you win this pot, and whatever the pot is, $10, $15 or whatever, it just makes each move that much more important. So I was like, if I can put these two things together, this is fantastic. So that's why way back then I wanted to start it. Fast forward 10 years, nobody has sort of filled that in mobile, especially because, like I said, it's too big of a risk. So that's the I'm going after players sort of like myself that just have like that competitive nature, that want to go and play against other players, and sort of get excitement out of like winning or losing, just knowing that like there's no chance involved. There's no like bad beats like in poker. There's no like I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning, and then a dice roll happens and then you lose. Like this is all skill, and you have the ability to set your opponent up, trap them, do other things or whatever that just I don't know. It's just I think that other players like myself will really get a kick out of it. So our job is first to complete this game, and then second, find the best, most efficient, cost-effective way to find those players to funnel them into this game. Because the more good players that we have, the better the game is. If we water down our game with a bunch of sort of like casual players, like we're not looking for the players that want to just sort of like hang around and play Candy Crush every once. And like, look, there's a place and a person and a whatever for Candy Crush, which is why it's so successful. No, nothing against it. It's just that's not our player type. So we have to market to the players that will enjoy our game and continue to bring more players like that into our game because they'll make the game better. So it's going to be like it's the easiest way to do it, and this is not what we're going for, but like it's like esports for everybody. Like it's in your phone all the time. You can be a professional esports player on your phone if you're good at this. It doesn't matter where in the world that you are. If you're playing this game and you're better than everybody else, you'll start ranking up the leaderboard. So I can't wait to get it in other people's hands and just start to see how much better that people get. So I'm really looking forward to it because right now, again, amongst the company, and I guess our COO might have some thoughts on this, but I'm probably the best player in the world right now.
But one thing that I was really pleased with when you were talking about how invested someone will become into this game because every move matters. And then when you've got the tournaments and the cash prizes, it gives opportunities to people from across the globe. Some young kid over in the Philippines or over in a different country to have a chance at becoming great at something and also being rewarded for that. And that hit home for me. And this is why we've been speaking ever since. So I absolutely love the vision behind it.
Yeah, that's that's probably like my biggest passion. I can't wait for give me 2 seconds. I can't wait for that story to emerge. So we've got a couple different paths, and we can get into it now or we can get into it later as far as like our true monetization or whatever with this game. But the game is built for everybody to have access to it, and that there is no pay to win. There is no sort of if you've got more money or whatever, you can get better characters or better heroes or whatever, and you're going to be able to beat people. It is an even playing ground for everybody. So just like you said, you could have some poor kid in the Philippines that just starts playing this game like crazy and ends up getting good at it, starts entering some tournaments, starts winning some money, and then starts moving up the ranks and starts making a bunch of money off of it. And the best thing about it is that he doesn't need money to start off playing. So we've got sort of two methods. We've got in-game currency, which we call salt crystals currently, and you
Okay.
can earn those by doing things within the game, watching rewarded videos, things like that. And then with some of those salt crystals, you can then enter a salt crystal tournament that, again, you enter with salt crystals that has a small cash prize at the end of that. So you can turn someone that has nothing into, a few dollars or whatever, and then you can use those dollars to enter cash tournaments and start making, sort of larger and larger sort of, or get into larger and larger prize pools. And then the other way is just go straight in with cash if you have it, and our cash tournaments will end up being smaller with larger prize pools. So if you enter with $5, you've got a chance to win 500 kind of thing, blah, blah, blah. But it does give you that opportunity of some kid in the Philippines that really has nothing to like a year later that gets really good at it or whatever and is, all of a sudden ranking in the top 10 in the world. Like I can't wait to see that. Like it's going to be that'll be when this thing, sort of is like a real shining moment or whatever for me. Like I've talked about this to like all of our employees or whatever. Like that's really what I want to see. So we'll see if that happens. But I'm sure that it will. Like if people like this game and we do have a success, I'm almost positive that there will be some kid somewhere or whatever that will do very well at this game.
there will be some kid somewhere coming for your crown on this game.
Yeah, well, look, it's not that hard right now. Like it's it's a very small, like we haven't advertised this at all. So, we've got, a few hundred people or whatever playing this thing. So to be the world champion right now is not that big of a crown, right?
Yeah, agreed. And look, if we look at PC console, where I've had tons of experience over the past 5 years working with multiple developers, and when you look at the monetization model of PC console, let's take FIFA for example. Who's going to have the best team? It's not going to be someone that doesn't buy them packs on FIFA. The more packs you buy, the better players you're
Yep.
going to have. And you're going to have a better chance of beating everyone.
Yep.
So this takes that completely away, and it's just a complete different perspective of approaching things. And I think that's refreshing, especially in the mobile industry as well. So I think, look, you're definitely onto something here. Now, if we talk a little bit about innovation and your perspective of the current state of mobile, those copycats, dopamine loops, how is Price of Glory going to completely break these patterns?
So I don't know if we're necessarily going to break any of those other than, like, I think our probably, from my perspective, our biggest innovation is going to be our monetization, just because I think our monetization actually adds to the game itself. But I also think that we're not going after everybody, right? So Candy Crush needs to appeal to everybody. You got to get, let's just make up numbers. You got to get 5 million people or whatever into that to get your 2% whales, your 5% casual players, and blah blah. And then if you've got those, sort of 10 to 15% of people or whatever that are monetizing throughout your game or whatever, you've got something. And then you've got to figure out how long you can keep those people, all of that. So again, it's a mathematical equation or whatever that all of these companies uh do in order to make sure whether they're going to greenlight a project or not. That's not what we're doing. We're going all in on, we think that our game has legs, meaning if you get into this game and you like it, you're not going to be playing it for 7 days, 30 days, whatever. You're going to be playing this thing for months, right? Like you will be vested in this. So if we get enough players like you, we'll put together, like, it will be like a strategy league kind of thing where everybody, and this is really what we want to do. We want to bring all the best sort of strategists from all these different communities together, and see how like how this like sort of battles out. It's kind of like the UFC of thinking, right? So like we'll bring all these different specialties or whatever into this, some poker players, some chess players or whatever, and see who's the best at it. And we think by doing that competitive nature or whatever will just, like, you can get every game that you play of Price of Glory will end up being different depending on who your opponent is and what board or map that you're on, and then what hero that you choose or that your opponent chooses. So even with just like limited sort of assets or whatever right now, there's still so much playability in the game. So that's really what we're banking on, is that just sort of that competitive nature and that replayability of the game. And then as we get our feet under us and we see how the public likes this thing, then we'll start to feed them with customizations and things like that to make the game what they want. But that the main thing is that even playing field. Like there's no pay to win. It will never be a part of our game. It will always be, if you can outthink me, Cell, then you're going to win. Like the only way that you're going to lose, if you're a better player than me, the only way that you're going to lose is if you make a mistake. Like there is no I get lucky kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, like I said, like I
it's
let's
brain
talk again
power.
in like a year when we've got a league going or something like that, and we can really talk about this thing, because it for me it's super exciting. And I think that one of our biggest hurdles is going to be like sort of watchability. Like, so people watch chess online, right? Because it's been around forever. Everybody knows chess, but it doesn't seem like the most exciting game until you know the tactics of chess. That's what we have to do, because this isn't it's not a Brawl Stars. It's not a whatever. It's not a fast paced game. Like it's a turn based strategy game that you make a move. You can be working, doing whatever, you can make a move, and then I've got in different play modes or whatever, I've got up to 24 hours to make my move. So I can still have a career and a profession. I don't have to put 2 hours aside right now to play you in one of these games. I can make a move, analyze what you did, make my move, go off with my thing, and then that anticipation of like, I set Cell up. I can't wait for him to make his move, and then I start checking my phone all the time. So even though without doing it, those dopamine loops are still there. Like, come on,
That,
Cell, like make your move because you're done, right? Yeah, yeah. So that's what we're trying to put together, and it's trying to explain that to everybody. Getting like, and the game is like simple enough to learn, but there's just so many different like levels and layers of strategy to it that that's going to be the fun part, watching people evolve and develop in this thing. So really, really exciting
yeah,
for me.
this is sitting. I could just imagine you sitting there with your mobile phone, waiting for the next move. Come for me,
Oh,
I'm setting you up. It's
happens all the time. Like, so we play within the company, sort of all the time, and then we've got, like a small group of our community is just starting to grow now. So every once in a while, I'll play like I'd say our COO, who's probably played almost as much as me or whatever, and we'll just have like these long drawn out sort of battles or whatever. And like part of me is like, go ahead, like make your move, but at the same time, like, oh yeah, you should be working right now, but like hurry up.
you can just imagine slacking them over and saying, "When are you going to make that move?
Yeah, what are
I'm
we doing?
waiting."
Oh, yeah, what, we're working right now? Like we're playing a game here. Like let's go.
This is awesome. So, community is a very important part of what you're creating. So, let's talk a little bit about community through gameplay because you've got some very interesting ideas on how you can take the positives out of PC console communities, the esports side of things, and put that into what you're creating. So, how are we at the business? How are you looking to build this community of people?
So initially, from now over the next several months, we're going to start building through like a sort of grassroots effort, meaning we're going to actually bring groups of people together in person to play these things. So we'll start partnering with local businesses. Again, I'm in Florida, so that's where we're going to start just because I like to get the initial feedback from folks. So we'll start with local businesses and things like that and start having weekly tournaments with people like in person. So, 4-person tournament, 8-person tournament, 16-person tournament or whatever with prizes that people can win right then and there. So not only like do you get like the experience of playing that game, but also like the experience of that atmosphere and that camaraderie or whatever amongst people or whatever. Like I don't necessarily I think that there's like that phones have the ability to isolate people, but I do think that there's the ability to start bringing people back together. So that's what we'd like to do with our community to start off. One, it helps us get a bunch of feedback, like right then and there, live from people, and just see sort of how people interact with the game. But two, I've again like I have a huge passion for entrepreneurialism and small business. So we can start to partner with some small businesses, some hobby shops, some comic shops, a few game bars here and there or whatever, and we can start help bringing foot traffic in to them. That's really what we're going to end up doing here over the next couple months, and we'll see how it plays out. This isn't something that a AAA studio I don't think would ever do because everything that they do is massive. We don't need this game to be massive for it to be a success for us because of the business model or whatever that I've put together for this thing. I don't need 10 million people playing this game. If we do get 10 million,
That's
sort of really enthusiastic players in this game, yeah, it's a massive, massive hit. But we could get by with much fewer numbers.
you spoke about getting it into pubs, sports bars, and things like that across the globe. How do you see that panning out?
I would love it, like, because I don't know how it is over there. Again, I've spent a little bit of time or whatever in London, but I think that you guys have as much of a passion or whatever for for football, your
Yeah,
football, as we do for our football, right? So when it's NFL season here, sports bars and things like that are packed. You sit around the
absolutely.
bar and everybody's there just watching a TV, and everybody's sort of enthralled or whatever in that. But like, even with fantasy football, you've got some action or whatever in that game. Like you've got some interaction or whatever with that game, but not a whole lot. Your player that you picked could go down with an injury or something like that in the first quarter or something like that. So your game is basically done. Or again, you've got a bunch of sports gamblers or whatever that sit around because that they're betting their weekly paycheck or whatever on it, right? Yeah. So we want to add to that. So you can still watch your game and do all that, but you can actually have competitions with the people that you're sitting beside, right? So the bar or whatever would end up putting up a private tournament code and 16 people would end up jumping in that. And then you can talk smack back and forth across the bar, do whatever while you're playing, but still like watch what's going on because our game doesn't take up all of your time. I imagine myself in that situation or whatever because I played football. It took me a while to be able to start watching football again as a spectator instead of criticizing everything. Just a weird quirk in my head. I always had a coach or something like that, and like you should have picked up that block, you should have done that. So it took me a while to be able to just sit and watch it as a fan. But I could imagine myself sitting in a bar with somebody across the bar that I'm in a game of Price of War, I mean Price of Glory or whatever, in like a real sort of battle with, and going back and forth or whatever, and just waiting for them to make a move. And then by the time that I leave that the establishment or whatever, like I've won a prize of $25 or $50 or something like that. I think it would be great. Like, and then that memory and that sort of that experience would last much longer than me just sort of sitting at home playing Candy Crush, right? So
Yeah. I can imagine you're watching a football game and you're shouting at one of your friends saying, "Make your move."
yeah, like, or yeah, like what are we doing here?
And secondly, your team wins on the night. You've got that dopamine hit, and you've just won a cash prize as well. It's been a good night.
Well, so
So
that's just it. Like we might be able to piggyback off of some of the other good things that happen in that experience. Your team might have won, or this happened, or that happened, or you bumped into some old friends, and all that stuff. But all of that is also packaged in with, hey, you were playing Price of Glory at the same time. So it's just trying to get people back into socializing or whatever. I'm hoping that we might be able to do that. And here's the thing, like even if you don't win at this game and you're in that tournament and whatever, like it's just for me, it's just the competition is fun. It's a better way to pass the time than just sort of sitting watching a game or whatever that you're not completely involved in unless you're one of those folks that just really likes yelling at a screen. So it's up to you.
we're the audience that we're going after is completely competitive minds, right? Completely competitive.
Initially, right? So
Yeah,
we'll broaden that, like we'll have guilds and things like that, so that there will be some social aspects and things like that to the game. But initially, we're going after people that want to win and people that want to achieve, like that want to see their name start moving up a leaderboard. People that want to win tournaments and things like that. Those are the people that we're going after because I think that's what makes the game uh that's what brings the best out of the game, I think. And then as the game starts to grow, then we can start bringing some of these social aspects within the game itself into it. So until again, we're only 40 people, we can't do everything all at once. So until we get to that point that we can bring that into the game, we want to bring the game to social settings. So that's kind of how we're bringing that social aspect to it.
yeah. What sort of timeline are you looking at bringing the social aspect into it?
So we're looking to launch most likely again without delays. I would say early fall, so like late summer, early fall. We'll have initial social aspects uh, introduced at that point. Will they be completely fleshed out? No, but they'd be you'd see glimpses of it within.
Okay, crystal clear. Okay, look, exciting stuff, and we sort of brushed over it at the beginning, and I was gonna go over it again here. So the studio was completely self-funded and self-funded through yourself. Want to tap into that a little bit because going over to GDC, you're now open to more strategic partnerships. And I want to understand what your thought process is behind that.
Yeah, so game development is expensive. And I
Indeed.
didn't, yeah, and I didn't think that, and I hate, because I think I give it a disservice. I hate calling our game simple, but going into this, I thought this was a fairly simple game to develop. Like I said, there's layers and layers of strategy, but I thought like just the initial concept was fairly simple. Little did I know. So like, not only are we building a game, which is what most studios do. Like you build a game and then you put that game out there. Well, we're building sort of three things all in flight. So we're building a company because we're growing as we go along. Like it's not just like we're Activision. We're like, hey, we've got a team already set up. This is what our next project is. You guys go ahead, and all of our policies, procedures, and protocols or whatever are already set. So we're building a company. Then we're building a game that, for me, it's my first time doing it. So learning all the intricacies and, sort of figuring out all of the things that could go wrong and the things that need to go in and prioritizing all of these things. And then on the back end, we're building a processing system in order to process transactions on a global scale. So it's a lot for a small sort of startup or whatever to do, which means that we had to bring on more and more people. It ended up being somewhat expensive, or a little bit more expensive than I thought. But I think that's everybody that gets into gaming. It's like, whatever you think that it's going to run you, it's going to run you, a whole lot more. It's like doing like a home renovation. It's going to take you a whole lot longer and it's going to be a whole lot more expensive. So that's where we are now. And then on top of that, I always like to learn from people that have done things before. So that's why I'm potentially looking for strategic partnerships with people that have sort of been in this space before, that could add knowledge to, I don't know, whether it be marketing, whether it may be to, some AI innovations or whatever that we could, to help streamline things, whether it could be on the processing side. Like there's a bunch of different avenues or whatever, or lanes that I could, absolutely use some expertise or whatever in. And then also just um, sort of having somebody else sort of take on a little bit of the risk, but at the same time, could I fund this thing entirely myself, all the way through? Yes. Is it something that, sort of all of my financial advisors and things like that, sort of suggest I don't do? Yes. But like I said, this is somewhat of a passion project, for me. And I want to see it through, and I want to see it the way that I want it to be done. Just, yeah, it's I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I know that if we can find the right people to play this game, that it is exactly what they're looking for. Because for me, even just playing it or whatever amongst the company, it's there. Like the game loop is fun. We need to work on some UX and some UI stuff, obviously. But it's like, and I make this analogy all the time, like everybody knows the TV show Friends, right? So the first season of Friends, if you go back and watch it, it looks terrible, right? Like there's not a whole lot of chemistry. There's not a whole lot of, but there's something there that everybody sort of like, sort of fell in love with or whatever. That's all we're trying to do. Like get to that one place and then give us a year, 2 years, 3 years, and then watch what this game becomes, because it's got the foundation to be something great in my eyes. So we just have to get it into the hands of the people that want to play this, and we'll see where it goes from there.
And be a part of the journey, and seeing it evolve is going to be the best feeling in the world. What I really like about what you've said there about being open to those strategic partnerships as a leader yourself and an entrepreneur for years throughout your whole life is to recognize the areas of support that you need, and also to continuously learn and bring in someone that has been in the industry that has done this. And people will love to come onto a journey like this, truly, if they believe in the game. And you've got something special there. So I don't see any reason why people would not be jumping at this. So look, kudos to you, and it just shows what a great leader you are. A little bit more about long-term vision. So let's talk about the studio culture, what you've built. There's a team of 40 folks fully remote over with you. You're over in Florida. From my understanding, a majority of the team is based in the US. Let's talk a little bit about what culture you've built from the outset, um, and how you continue to add to that.
Yeah, so culture is one of the biggest things, or I guess one of the most important things to me in building a company, just because, again, I continue to enter industries that I know nothing about and probably shouldn't enter, right? So I need the right people around me because I need to rely on them for their expertise for us to get this done. Like I tell people all the time, like I don't really have a skill set. I don't know what it is other than like I've got some fairly decent ideas and I've got a core group of folks that help me do the things that I do. And then I guess they just don't tell me that, Morgan, that idea is stupid. You shouldn't build a video game. We should go do something else. So here we are. So like when we built this thing, like we've got our core is like it's talented, humble, folks with integrity, and creativity, that have a passion for doing like what they do, right? So and the biggest the one thing that always sort of stands out or whatever to people, like, so it's our acronym or whatever is we're looking for thick individuals, which is kind of weird, but it's two eyes and the other eye is imperfect. And that's the biggest, like, for me, like one of the most important things. Like I want people to know and accept that we're all human and everybody's going to make mistakes, and I don't want anybody to sort of shy away from that. Like let's make some mistakes, and just be honest with ourselves. Like I want to get to the truth as quickly as we can so that we can make good intelligent decisions as quickly as we can. But if everybody's scared of explaining that there was a mistake or explaining that they were wrong or blah blah, like you can't get to that, and people are scared to come up with ideas and what, like I don't want that. Like I want people to be honest and not fearful, and just be able to sort of participate in what we, because like I said, I'm in an industry that I don't have all the answers. I lean on my team for a lot of those, so they've got to be in a space where they can feel okay making a mistake. And trust me, we've made a bunch of mistakes in doing this thing, but like maybe that's my talent, is like I will find a way to work around the mistakes or whatever that we make in order to keep the ship moving forward.
And people will grow massive amounts through those. If you're creating an environment where nobody is scared, there is no fear, they're going to continuously look to try new things, be innovative, and come up with new ideas, because there isn't someone on their back that's going to say, you've messed this all up, what's going on? You're breathing a culture where people are becoming more and more creative, but at the same time, the mistakes that they're making, they're learning from it and progressing.
Well,
And I think,
you bring up that point. It's that you have to be able to learn from your mistakes. So this is one of the things that I got from the NFL. I can't even remember what coach that it was that, told me. He's like, look, you can go ahead and make a mistake, just don't make it twice, right? And
yeah,
especially as an undrafted free agent or whatever, like your life is on the line every single time, right? So you go out there, if you make a mistake, you're thinking that you could be cut. So this guy was basically like, hey, you can make a mistake, but after film and we go through it, if I see you make that mistake again, like there are no excuses for that. So that's what we're trying, like make the mistake, learn from it, use it as a tool, and then continue to sort of improve from that point. So like I said, like I know that we tried this interview or whatever previously or whatever, like, when we started off, like I've learned more from football, I think. And I hate to say this because I went to a pretty decent university, where I don't want to take anything back from them because they're actually gonna, I think they're gonna work with us here in this starting the community or whatever. But I went to a pretty good university or whatever. But I think I learned more from football and team sports for what I do currently than I ever did from anything academically. Just being able to work with all sorts of people, just that sort of never give up kind of mentality, even if you're losing. And I went through a bunch of losing seasons or whatever with a bunch of different teams, but you still have to put your best effort out there. And that you're always showcasing yourself. So like even in practice, which I hated doing, especially in college, I was terrible, but in the pros or whatever, there was, I think it was with one of the teams or whatever, there was a black line that you had to cross over, and the second that you crossed over, and they let everybody know this, once you cross over that black line, you're on film, and everything that you do on that is a representation of yourself. So make sure that, because as a free agent, they're like, you might not make this team, but everybody else is going to be able to see your film. So make sure you're putting your best foot forward. So that's all I really want out of team members on this team or whatever. It's just always put your best foot forward, bring out your great ideas, bring out, we can make mistakes because we're going to, but then let's learn from them and continue to move on. And I think we've got a pretty good team, and you see how some people grow as they come along through this. We've got one woman that's one of our PMs or whatever that was really quiet at the beginning or whatever. Now she's just really starting to get into her own and really starting to speak up and give her insight or whatever. It's for me, it's really cool to see. Like I really like to see people sort of blossom into who they should be if they're given the right environment.
Come out of their shell. I've seen it. I've seen it. Even when hiring in my previous business, there were a few dark horses where I thought this person's really quiet. Is she going to be okay in this environment? But you create an environment that gives them that safety, that allows them to be comfortable, be themselves, and before you know it, they will be the most confident person within that room. And
Yeah.
yes, mistakes will be made. And there's a few people that I still speak to now that are good friends of mine, and they became the most confident, loudest person in the room, and they were themselves again. So it's refreshing to hear that. I've
Yeah,
got
I always
two.
cheer for an underdog, always.
I love an underdog. um, I've got two questions for you as we approach the end of this pod. So, where where do you envision Price of Glory to be in the next 5 years? Let's say it's so hard. 5 years. Let's talk 1 to 3 years. Where do you see it?
So I've got so many different ideas as far as what direct. I shouldn't say that. I've got so many ideas as far as where I want this to go, and just so many things that I want to put into the game. But first, we have to make sure that we've got something that people like initially. So 5 years from now, I would like to see us, sort of ranking in the at least in the top 20 of strategy games, if not better. But I want hardcore strategy fans to think of us as, sort of one of the top five strategy games that they want to play. Like it's just I want people to know, like, if you think that you're a strategist or whatever, you better have a ranking on Price of Glory, because if you don't, then you're not really a strategist, right?
You're not real.
Yeah, like this. Yeah, so that's kind of where I see us. But there are so many. Yeah, like there are huge plans for where this game goes and grows into. But again, just initially, or where we've got to get something that people latch onto, and then um we'll change paths depending on what our players want, what player behaviors and that are. And I know in large studios or whatever that most of that is geared towards sort of like what whales and things like that are doing. But we want to make this for sort of everybody. So we'll take obviously we've got to monetize and we've got all that, but I think our monetization or whatever is solid. We just need to make sure that we keep this game fair and balanced. And I think we can have a pretty good run of it.
You've reiterated that multiple times since we've been speaking. It's all about the fairness in this game. Everyone's got a fair shot, and I genuinely love that. So to wrap up, how do you want this studio to be remembered in the gaming space?
It's that's interesting. I guess I guess even just to be remembered would be something fairly monumental for,
Humble.
an indie, I guess we're considered double A studio or whatever. For anybody to even sort of know who we are would be pretty cool. But if this thing does do what I anticipate or hope or want it to do, I guess I would just that I don't know that we took a shot that everybody else was scared to do, right? That we were somewhat courageous in doing something that I think, again, and this could be my, that I'm so naive in this or ignorant or whatever in this space, that just seems so natural. Like, why wouldn't other people do this? But it's I now know the answer. It's too risky for a lot of folks or larger studios or whatever to do. So I guess in the end that we were risk takers and that we I guess that we got lucky.
Yeah. Everyone, like you said, everyone loves an underdog story.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, again, we are like in a weird way, like we are that we are that little kid in the Philippines or India or whatever that doesn't have anything, that's going up against, a bunch of people that might have a bunch of money or whatever. Like, we're going up against a bunch of AAA studios that have all the money in the world or whatever. And if we can carve out a space in mobile and actually make something happen, like
What,
it's a big deal. It's a big accomplishment or whatever that I don't think
yeah,
people understand how challenging or whatever that is, because I didn't in going into this. So now I know, but we're here, so we've got to make it happen.
love it. What a story it will be. And look, I'm rooting for you guys, and I'm sure many others that hear this story. And once the game is out as well, I'm sure there's going to be many folks out there rooting for you. It's been great going through all of this. So launch summer, autumn is what we're expecting. iOS, Android. So everyone
Yeah,
get ready.
jump on our Discord now because we're gonna start running some tournaments and things like that. We'll start expanding the launch to other countries here shortly. So yeah, stay tuned.
Love it. Morgan, thank you so much, man. It's been a very enjoyable conversation. I'm sure others will agree as well when they see this. So appreciate the
Thank,
time, man.
thanks for having me. And any time, whenever you want to do it again.
Been a pleasure.